Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. As you can tell, your normal host Mark Franke is not here. This is Coach Ball. We left Coach Franke in California. So this week we're going to have a couple special guests, and Coach Hartley from the women's volleyball team and the voice of the Dons, Mr. Mike Moss. We're looking forward to having a great show, and we ask that you stay with us as we return. Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. This segment is sponsored by Alco and Dairy Queen, our great friends who have been supporters of ours for the last couple of years. I want to introduce to you some friends of ours who have obviously been around IPFW athletics for quite some time. Mr. Mike Moss, the voice of the Dons, and Kelly Hartley, the women's volleyball coach here at IPFW. We want to share with you a little bit here this first segment about some neat things that are happening in both volleyball programs. And in regards to the fact that we have both played this last weekend, and recap a little bit in regards to that, the women's team is certainly just in their spring season, so we kind of like to find out a little bit of what's happening with the women's team. So Kelly, can you help us a little bit in regards to what took place this last week? I think you guys played this last weekend, right?
We did. We were up in Kalamazoo at Western Michigan. Played in a tournament. There were 6 teams there. We did a round-robin type format, and of course in the spring it's a little laid back in that we're not keeping statistics. We're not really even nothing's really formal. It's a time to learn and get folks who didn't get a lot of playing time in the spring some experience before they or in the fall some experience in the spring so they're ready for next season. Kelly,
with the women's program being in its what's non-traditional season, we call it within the NCAA. How much time are you able to put in with the kids?
Well, it falls within our 24-week period where we can go every day. We still are held to the 4 hours a day rule, but we practice 3 to 6, 3 to 5:30, I guess, during the spring, and train very, very hard to prepare for next fall.
Now, when you do that, are all the players from this past year's team allowed to train with you, or just the kids that are going to be returning back next year?
They all are permitted to train with us. However, since we're looking to next fall and not really how we score on the field or on the court this spring, we're looking at people who are returning to our team and training them and focusing on next year's team, not our seniors who helped us out in the fall, but whose eligibility is up after this semester. So our seniors, we're playing spring ball without our seniors, although we're real grateful to them to drop into practice and help out and compete against them, but they're not competing with us anymore.
So the competition this weekend, pretty good?
Pretty good. We saw an Eastern Michigan team and a Western Michigan team who were loaded in the fall and have everybody back. Grand Valley, who I think made it to the Elite 8 last year, and they have everybody back. So we show up with 8 people, and 5 of them freshmen, 3 sophomores. So we usually had 4 freshmen and 2 sophomores on the court against some really good teams in the fall who had everybody back. But we have to learn, and some people who didn't get a lot of time in the fall did this weekend, and I think it was a big growing experience for them. And they got better as the day went on. We saw some good things from those people.
When we get into segment 2 here a little bit, I'd like for you to talk about some of the new rules that the women have adopted and how your team has adjusted to some of those rules and what we see for the future for women's volleyball here at IPFW. We'll do that in segment 2. I just want to recap for a minute. Mike, what are you up to these days?
Waiting for your team to come back home, get off the road so we can do some matches.
Well, I got to tell you, not only are you waiting, but we're anxiously awaiting getting back home, especially after this last week, of which we'll talk a little bit more about a little later on. Obviously, we have a couple matches coming up here at home this weekend that I believe are going to be on Channel 56. Do you do anything else in regards to working with the IPFW teams during this particular time of the year?
Well, we just finished basketball in terms of having the coaches on our show, Mastodon Spotlight, and now we're trying to get our attention geared towards the spring sports. We hope to have all the spring sports represented between now and the end of the school year. But for example, next week we hope to have Keith Fisher in the softball, maybe a couple of the players, or I heard Doc Scouten may come on because he is helping out with the women's softball team. And we hope to have Billy Gurn if time and schedule permits. And I know on this week's show we're going to be talking tennis with the assistant coach, Eric Burns. And we hope to have Rick Norton on and possibly a couple of the members of his track and field team as well. So we're going to try to cover all the spring sports, and we've got a couple of other surprises before the year's over, perhaps another roundtable or two, which has been popular. And we also hope to have all the coaches on before the year's out, once the recruiting period is over, to talk about signed recruits and a quick look at the upcoming schedule for next year.
So I got to ask you, you just recapped what you intend to do in regards to spring sports here at IPFW. We're taping this show on Tuesday. What's it like outside, Mike?
It's not sunny and 80 degrees like you're used to in California over the weekend. A little bit of snow, ice, and temperature probably in the 20s.
So we're actually not talking spring sports here. We're talking spring sports who hope to be a spring sport, but right now are winter sports.
That's
in
right.
fact, softball was scheduled to play today, and they've canceled. Probably a good call there, Coach Fisher. If that was your call.
I think he's just being a softie. I mean, if I were coaching softball team, he'd be out there playing.
Coach Fisher's tough. I wouldn't call him soft.
I think, trust me. Not only does he have to give me strokes this spring and summer, but he's definitely soft when it comes to putting money in my pocket. There's no doubt about that. Huh?
Glad you put that in the right content for us.
But I can't, well, anyhow, Bernie's just told me that we just have a couple seconds left. So when we come back on our second segment, I want to talk some more about women's volleyball in Division I. Mike, you can kind of update us a little bit on what we see for next year in regards to Channel 56 and sports. And I also want to recap our trip to California. So please stay with us as we'll return here in a couple seconds.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids, who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
With over 30 years of dedication to his students, Professor of Geosciences Deepak Chowdhury recognizes the IPFW experience.
He doesn't spoon feed you all the information that you need. He mostly will give you all of the knowledge that you need in bits and pieces. And it's almost like a puzzle where he gives you all the pieces, and in the end you'll put it together and have the larger picture yourself. I really enjoy it. He's a great professor to work with and for.
IPFW is one of only 3 universities in the state to offer students hands-on experience with their own seismograph. This gives Dr. Chowdhury great pride, but it is the interaction with his students that has kept him teaching.
When the students understand the concept, what's happening, that glimmer of light in their eyes, that you cannot trade for any money. So that's the most important thing.
IPFW, the right school, right here, right now.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. This is our second segment, sponsored by Farm Bureau Insurance and Freedom Financial, two sponsors that we're very grateful to help us produce this particular segment of the show. I can't wait for Frankie to watch this. You know, he's probably going to be out of a job. Huh, Mike?
I wouldn't go quite that far. It's not easy trying to do an imitation of Mark Franke.
Well, an imitation, that's for sure. I don't quite have the girth that Mark's Coach Franke. And certainly I don't have the computer skills that has Coach Franke, but I have a couple other things, like I don't leave my wife when it snows for her to clean the driveway. He does that all the time, Kelly. Remember the discussions we've had with him?
Yeah.
Every time he leaves, it snows, and poor Tommy has to get the snowblower out.
Tommy does the snowblower?
Tommy does the snowblower. As a matter of fact, before we left to go to California, he made sure it was running correctly because he knew she was going to have to do the driveway.
Well, that was big of him. That's love.
True love, huh?
Yeah.
True love.
I knew Tommy was a great cook and obviously one of the nicest people I know, but she also does driveways.
Maybe we ought to put his phone number up here and say, for hire, does driveways, Tommy Franke, to support Coach Franke's
Fill in the blank.
habit. Huh? You know, we left. I left California yesterday, and it took me 14 and a half hours to get home because of this weather you guys have. You know, but I left. Mark stayed out there for a conference, and it's at Disneyland. Now, can you imagine Mark Franke at Disneyland?
I'm going to try. Okay, it's done.
I can see him riding the saucers. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Let's get him going round and round after a few. That'd be good. Good highlights.
Get the camera.
Well, we just came back. Our team just came back from a trip out to California. We've developed this rivalry with Long Beach, and you know, obviously we've struggled a little bit, Mike and Kelly, this year with our team because of the injury factor that we've gone through. And I had to certainly relate to what you're talking about. You're talking about 8 players. You know, you take up to where you're at up in Michigan this last weekend, and we traveled with 10, and 2 of those are shorter than I am. So, you know, we're kind of the same way when it comes to numbers. And we played a Cal Baptist team on the first night at the Long Beach tournament, and they are the 3rd-rated NAIA school in the country. And, of course, Kelly, you understand with some background with NAIA people, they have some
They get some
latitude
good
we
players. They're able to get very good players.
Why is that? How is that?
Well, because of the structure of the NAIA versus the NCAA, and the NAIA rules enable them to get players that we cannot get. Their rules on age are very, very different. The ability to get that 27-year-old player with a lot of international experience exists at the NAIA level, and it does not at the Division I NCAA level.
Yeah, we walked into the gym, and of course we already had their roster ahead of time. They have 2 guys from Brazil, 1 from Poland. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah, some other, and I'm going.
Playing an international all-star team.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, your 18-year-old freshmen are playing, you know, 27-year-old men with a lot of experience. That's a big difference.
And the setter he had to be at least 27. He could have been 35 for all the way he looked. I mean, and certainly had that kind of experience. Their opposite was 6'11", by the way. So you know, we played that team, and we actually came out and played really well the first set. We ended up winning the first set pretty easily. And it's like I was telling you before we went on the show, you know, our team right now has made some significant progress in the level and the way we're competing. But we can't sustain it because of we play on that emotion, that adrenaline we get early, and then the physical ability, size, experience takes over, and we just can't sustain that level. And that's what happened against Cal Baptist. We ended up losing 3-1, and we turn around and the next night played Long Beach, who had beaten Rutgers the night before, and Rutgers beat us out at their place 3-0. Same scenario, only I changed our lineup a little bit this time and put Mitch Dreisbach back at the opposite, and we come out and we blitz them. I mean, we blitz them the first game, 30-23, and of course the staff's going, yeah, finally. And then we had that same turnaround thing again. In game 2, we end up losing 30-23, and then we lose game 3 and 4, 30-28 and 32-30. And it's so difficult for our young kids out on the road because we've been working so hard to try and get better and trying to develop that emotional state to play at a little higher level, and to lose 30-28 and 32-30 just really takes the wind out of your sails. So we're going to try and focus back on those 2 first sets that we played, both against Cal Baptist and against Long Beach, and say, you know, here's what we want to build towards, and here's what we want to keep trying to do. You know, you've been doing this game a long time too. It's just you got to look for something positive to work on.
I hope your guys understand, because you know we haven't seen them play at home in a while, but you know they're playing at a very high level and doing what they're capable of doing, and that's really important because not everybody does. And you know, when you get on the court and it's time to finish, if you're against a more physical team, of course that component is going to be a factor. And we've ran into that also this weekend. You know, we're right there. You can't finish. You're playing a more physical team, and if they decide to get it done and they have those tools, they probably are.
Well, we're certainly making some progress, but you know, we coaches, the progress is never fast enough. Even when you have a winning season, sometimes the progress is never fast enough. And we're making some. It's just it's so difficult, and it's certainly going to be nice to be back home. Even though we go to Findlay tomorrow, but it'll be nice to be back home and play at home for at least 2 weekends and see what my wife and family look like, and for the kids too. It's been a pretty tough semester for our kids.
It's been fun to watch Josh though get so much better. Josh, I think, is having a great senior year. Angel obviously is playing really, really well. And, you know, Ryan is handling the ball and playing a position, I mean, it's really easy for me to sit in this chair and say these things. I just think your guys are doing a great job. Your freshman setter's obviously fantastic and having a great career here. So doing some good things. I hope they feel that way.
Well, we just hope, and I know, well, I'm going to throw it to you in a second also about next year. You know, we hope the same thing. It's that these young kids are grow and develop, and certainly the leadership of Josh and ours has played real well for us lately too. Nobody knows that because they haven't got to see him play, but he's certainly played real well and really showed some leadership things that we haven't had on the floor. What about next year, Coach?
Next year.
What's our
so far away? And it's
well, I know it seems like so far away. It's going to be very quickly, and you know our show is winding down, and before we know it, it's going to be August and September. What kind of schedule are we able to put together? Because you know, you and I both know that the fact that the mid-con turned us down is obviously disappointing to those of you that were looking to trying to get a conference. It's not so difficult for us, but certainly for you guys. So,
yeah,
what kind of what can we look forward to there?
Next week, because of the way the calendar falls, Women's Division I has 4 weekends of tournaments before most conferences start their conference schedule. So we'll go to 4 tournaments and play a ton. We're going over to Purdue. We're hosting a tournament, which is exciting for us. We didn't get to do that last year. We have Marquette, Wright State, and Western Illinois coming in. We also go to California for a trip. And then late in the game, I got a call from some other independent schools who wanted to put together an independent tournament in November in a championship type setting with awards, and you know, you could win something. You could be the Division I independent champion, and there's a purpose now or something to look forward to build on, to playing your best volleyball in November, which our kids didn't have that opportunity to do last year. You know, you just end your season. That's a tough thing. So we're going to build towards that tournament in Texas in November. Now, yeah, that means we're taking 2 trips next year. And no, Mark Pope, I don't know how I'm paying for it yet. But
that's all right. I take more than I'm supposed to, and I just worry about it later.
Yeah, but we need to do this. Our kids need to play in November, so that when we do get a conference, and we hope that's very soon, you know, we're accustomed to playing our best volleyball and peaking in November and playing in that type of environment.
I want to go back to what this last weekend when you played, because we're going to run out of time here in this segment very quickly. Tell us about the rule changes for women's volleyball for next year and what you just went through this last weekend.
Well, like the men's game, we now are going to use the libero next fall. Of course, going into spring ball, I think, well, I'm going to get used to this and get our kids comfortable with it in a hurry, and we're going to play it this spring. Never really asked the other coaches what we were going to do, what the format was for, you know, on Saturday. I just knew what we wanted to do, and again, it's very laid back, so I knew no one would have a problem with it. But I assumed, I guess, everybody would start using these rules, and no one had a problem with it. But early in the day, we noticed we were kind of the only ones really doing it. And I thought, well, what's that about, you know? But I think people are just uncomfortable with it. But our kids and our staff is maybe a little more comfortable with it because we've seen it. We have men's volleyball. And that was a huge advantage for us, I think, early in the day. And it certainly did help our offense. Now, we had trouble putting the ball away, but we were in system a ton. We had Sarah Leffers, an athlete from Fort Wayne, playing that libero role. That will be her position. She's pretty excited about that rule change.
Well, when we come back, we're going to close this segment up right quick, and Michael, kind of turn it over to you a little bit and let you maybe have a couple questions of Coach Harley and myself, and we want to talk about the upcoming events and the rest of your spring schedule. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. Precious places, timeless places, places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
All over America, people are taking the National Radon Test. Have you?
You put me on the spot.
True or false? Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer.
True.
I'd say false.
No, it's true.
That's something new to me.
The Office of the Surgeon General recommends all homes be tested for radon.
False.
It's true.
True.
So that's bad. We should get our house tested.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
How can you not call?
1-800-SOS-RADON.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. I'm the Mark Franke imitator, otherwise known as Mike Moss. And, want to remind you that this segment of the show is brought to you by Fujifilm and Marathon Ashland Oil. Again, some proud sponsors of the Arnie Ball Show. This segment, we want to take a look. Now, we were talking to Kelly Hartley about some of the rule changes. And as I said off air before the break, one question that I want to ask you, how difficult has it been on the recruiting trail not being in a conference the last couple of years, and now after the decision by the MidCon, it may be a while longer?
Yeah, and we're hoping it's not that much longer, of course, but I think it could become difficult. Certainly recruits ask those questions. They want to, you recruit good kids, competitive people, and they want to play for a championship at some level. So it does make it difficult, although I think folks are willing to be patient to a point. Our freshmen now understand, you know, what's ahead of us. They'll play 2 years without competing for a conference championship, you know, at least 2 years, and hopefully by their junior and senior year there'll be something for them to do in regards to the NCAA tournament or championship.
In terms of the game, last year you broke away. The men have had it, it's a little while longer, going to the rally scoring. I know I asked you on our show before how much you like it, but now that you've had a chance to experience it for a year, how are your thoughts on rally scoring? Would you like to go back to the old style with side outs?
It's hard to even think about the old way of playing now that you've done it. This short period of time, it's really hard to think about playing side out volleyball again. I like it, yeah. I think fans like it. Everybody I talk to really does like it. There was some resistance at first, and it seems like the women's game is the last to get on board with a lot of these things. But everybody I talk to really does like it. And boy, you have a chance. You can. Everybody thinks 5 points down is a lot in rally scoring. It's not. You can make that up in a hurry. And I think sitting in the stands, it looks different. That you know that you can get on a roll. Over the weekend, we were down, I think, by 7 when we subbed Nicole Ray in to serve, and she got us back in that in a hurry. Reeled off a couple aces. We were able to transition a few times. We're back in the ball game and won that game against Eastern Michigan. So I like it.
From the men's point of view, I know you and I have talked in the past too. The international rule is played at 25, and NCAA decides they want to go to 30. What would you prefer to have?
I prefer 25. I like the 25 points with a couple timeouts. I think 30 is a little bit too long, only because if you get into a match that's 3 out of 5 and you end up going 5 sets, we're back to a time frame of 2 hours and 20 minutes and 2 hours, maybe 30 minutes. That's too long. I think that's too long. I like the 25. Rally score is, or speed scoring as some people call it, is an up-tempo kind of thing, and I think the 25 point keeps it kind of an up-tempo flow. So I prefer to go to 25. I don't know whether that'll happen or not in the U.S., but that's internationally it's still all 25.
Well, and at 30, I don't know that it's been a time saver in any of our matches anyway.
No, I don't think so.
At least you can get an idea it's not going to go any longer than 2.5 or whatever if it goes 5. But certainly if it goes 3, I mean, you're not saving time anywhere.
No, I don't think so either. And that's part of what this is supposed to be all about.
Would you ever like to see it for either sport, and especially with the men's, because we're used to best of 5, have it changed to a best of 3?
No. What I would like to see it change to, I don't know how Kelly would feel about this, but it's a format that would be similar to basketball. Whether we have quarters or sets or whatever they want to call them, with a halftime where people can go buy popcorn and soda, and take your team to the locker room, et cetera, et cetera. We do that right now in our game between sets 2 and 3. We take a 10-minute break for promotional reasons, and people do that kind of stuff. I like that, but I also like the fact that if we did the kind of concept that I was just talking about, that it truly becomes marketable within a television time frame. And that's where, I think that's real important.
Before we run out of time, 3 matches this week. A match with Findlay at Findlay, a team we defeated earlier in the year. And then this weekend, Friday night, Clark College from Iowa comes to town. And then Saturday, Loyola of Chicago comes here to game a match we're going to broadcast on Channel 56. Quick thoughts on those 3 matches?
Well, it's certainly another big week for us. Going to Findlay is not a great thing right now, just because we've been on the road so long. But hopefully we can go over there and be successful. Clark is a team that both those teams we've beaten earlier in the year. And then Saturday night, when Loyola comes here, Loyola just beat Penn State this last weekend in 5. And then turned around and lost to Lewis. So Loyola's a very, very good team, but I think if our team will build upon what we talked about earlier at Long Beach, that we could be very, very competitive, and it could be a great match on Saturday night. So it's a nice stretch for us right here, being home on the weekend. And on top of that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but on top of that, we have some recruits on campus, and so it needs to be a really good weekend. We need a lot of people in the building.
Well, get out to the Gate Sports Center, that's for sure. And if you can't make it, obviously tune into Channel 56 Saturday night.
Kelly, what's in the future for you guys this spring?
The near future, we go to Bowling Green on April 6th for another tournament. We host one here April 13th. And then at some point, I don't remember when it is, Colin's in charge of this, we're going to go down to Ball State and just play them, do like some wash games format and beat each other up a little bit, and then play a match after that.
So you're going to be home on April 13th?
April 13th we are here.
So if you're available, we certainly would enjoy having you come and see not only our team play this weekend, but on April 13th when Kelly's team will be here to kind of showcase her team for the upcoming year. On behalf of our sponsors of Alco and Dairy Queen and Farm Bureau Insurance and Freedom Financial and Fujifilm and Mastodon, Marathon National Oil, I want to thank Mike and Kelly for coming and spending a little time with us today. And Mark, you don't have to hurry back. Big Mike, we're going to put him in a suit and we'll be in great shape. So on behalf of Arnie Ball, of the Arnie Ball Show and the folks here at Channel 56, I want to thank you for watching.
Welcome to the Arnie Ball Show. This week we're going to preview our conference match at home on Friday night against Mercyhurst. Our guest is IPFW Sports Information Director Mike Jewell. And when we come back, Arnie and I will discuss last week's conference matches against Clark and Loyola. So please stay with us. Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. I'm your host, Mark Franke. Our sponsors for this segment are Alco and Dairy Queen. And Arnie, I'm glad you let me back on the show after being AWOL last week. I understand you had Bullseye Hartley on, and she did quite a job, and there was probably a lot of discussion this week by upper management here at Channel 56 about just keeping her in my place.
Actually, she was over here. I was over there.
Oh, so you were doing my job and she was doing yours?
I was over there.
Well, she couldn't have been doing your job because she told me she spent the whole time talking about volleyball, and you almost never do. That's my biggest task here, to try to get you to talk about volleyball rather than whatever else is on your mind.
Yeah, she was pretty serious, you know. But we had Big Mike here, Big Mike Moss. You know, he kind of rounded the whole thing out, as I recall.
Rounded it out, did he?
Yeah, a little bit. I think we talked. Yeah, he kind of rounded it out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you talked about her team a lot, I understand. Probably talked about our team a little bit, at least.
You know, next time we go to California, don't you desert me.
I didn't desert you.
Yes, you did.
I made sure when the team left on Sunday morning that you were ready to go because you were heading off to play golf.
Yeah, but you didn't. You deserted me. I ended up having to come home all by myself.
In the blizzard.
In the blizzard.
That was very bad planning on your part. I waited till Wednesday to come home when things had cleared up.
And I don't suppose you had any trouble, huh?
I had no trouble
You
at all.
didn't miss your plane in Chicago.
No, I didn't.
That was a nightmare.
I actually went through Dallas, Fort Worth, rather than through Chicago coming back. And even though you fly from Fort Wayne to Dallas, basically on the same size plane, we flew to Chicago, which is that smaller, tighter one. Boy, going through Dallas is a lot nicer than going through Chicago.
So we ought to do that for next time?
We ought to do that. And in fact, didn't we discover that American Airlines flies into Long Beach Airport, which is right next to our hotel, which would be even more convenient.
But you know, that wasn't my problem. Fort Wayne was the problem.
Fort Wayne was the problem?
It was a long day, thanks to you.
Thanks to me. Well, and that's why I got back on the show, so you could castigate me in front of our millions of viewers.
Well, you screwed up our ground transportation. You screwed up the hotel bill, and you stayed longer in California. While the rest of us had to come back to this blizzard.
Well,
what more can I say?
I had to wait to make sure my my wife got the driveway clear, and I did. When I got back, she did. In spite of the fact she broke my snowblower, which, as she called me and said, I broke your snowblower, which I thought was a good sign because normally she'd say, your blankety-blank snowblower broke on me, but she was already taken. So I helped her through the repair, and I used the old red-green method. I said, get the duct tape. We'll put this thing back together, and by golly, it worked.
Well, you know.
But then I know what you're going to say. I know, I'll just toot your horn for you so you don't have to. She saved on our answer machine the message from your wife Sandy saying, Arnie's home now, and if you want, we'll come over and help you do your driveway. But my guess is, since she already had it done, you had driven by, seen that, and then made the offer. That's my guess.
I'll never confess to whether or not I drove down your street or not.
But never fails. Whenever we go out to that trip to Long Beach, it always snows back here. And this year it was much later in the year. So last week, March, figure. And so mild winter, we got to be home free, right? Get the worst snowstorm of the season.
It didn't happen.
I think if you scheduled Long Beach in June, it would still snow in Fort Wayne.
It would snow in Fort Wayne and rain in California.
That's right.
Know, we knew we were in trouble back here because it was beautiful the whole time we were out there. So you knew it was going to be bad somewhere.
Yeah, there was one day you actually didn't play golf, right? You showed up at the gym.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't remember which day that was.
Well, let's see. When we played Saturday night, you did get there in time for the team meal.
Well, that was important.
That was important.
I want to make sure I was getting my
Thursday
team money.
night, you didn't get there in time for practice, so
yes, I did.
Coach Schmidlin had to run practice. And
No.
you know what his idea of practice is? I'm trying to shag balls for him. And so he tells the boys, after I go to one corner and shag the balls, he says, okay, now hit them to the other, as soon as I move, he said, now hit them back in that corner again.
Well, we're trying to get you ready for New York City when we go back again, because last time we were there, you couldn't keep up.
Well, that's right.
Huh?
That's right.
We're trying to get you in shape.
I'm going to, I did figure out the subways, though, and from now on, I'm riding the subways everywhere. Across the street, I'm riding the subway.
Well, I tell you, at least we had great weather out there. We got to see some old friends, and we really didn't play too badly either.
No,
at times.
We played I think we played probably our best match of the season against Long Beach, other than the first match of the season, of course, when we had Maddie and Jeff. But that probably the best effort our team made.
We had a chance. Of course, we've been saying this all year long, but we did. We had a chance to beat Long Beach in that second match, and the third game was 30-28, and the fourth game, I believe, was 32-30.
32-30. And we had two serve-receive errors late, like I think at 28 and 30.
Real late, yeah. I mean, I thought the kids did a really good job considering, the fact that it's a 3-hour time change, and obviously the climate's much different, and Long Beach is a good team, and we're on the road, and we just couldn't quite pull out the win.
But the biggest mistake I made then was to let you and Coach Johnson take responsibility for the team on Wednesday night against Findlay. And how did that match turn out when I wasn't there?
Findlay. Where is Findlay? I don't even know where that's at.
That's where one of our sponsors is located, Marathon Ashland Oil. Their headquarters
maybe
is
that's
Findlay.
why I've heard of it, because of the sponsor.
That's right.
Yeah. How can I say this politely? We just sucked. How's that, huh?
John, can we say that on? Okay, John says that word's okay.
I'm saying it. I don't care. I'm saying it.
We lost to Findlay. How did we do that?
Wasn't hard. They played better than us. We played very poorly.
And then we came. That was on Wednesday.
I want to talk about Findlay some more.
Want to talk about Findlay?
Yeah.
You don't want to go to Clark? We won against Clark.
We'll get to there in a second. Okay. I think that it was probably, once again, Coach Ball's fault for scheduling that game after we came home from California. But we just weren't up to the task, and we played very uninspired volleyball.
Well, we had trouble last year at Findlay, if you remember. I think we had to go 5 to just barely win that. They just play like demons in their own gym.
And we had no demons in us, absolutely zero. And then
except maybe on the bench.
Then we beat Clark.
Clark played. Clark played the poorest I've ever seen them play, so they were tired too, I think, from traveling.
They've been on the road for longer than we've been on the road.
They really played poorly Friday night, which of course helped us. We beat them fairly easily. Then on Saturday night, we played fairly tough against Loyola, but not quite good enough to get the job done.
I talked to Coach Hansen and I were talking from Ohio State today, and I told him, I said, Loyola was ripe for the taking. I mean, all we had to do was just continue what we did in set 2. Remember game 2, we served the ball real well, we dug some balls, transitioned some balls, and they weren't playing well. They were hitting balls out of bounds, and we got to their opposite. He's one of their better passers, and really broke him down. But we just cannot sustain that level of play over a whole match.
Yeah, it's really tough without having a typical go-to guy like, say, a P-tack on the left side.
Yeah, and we'll talk when we get a chance. We'll talk about that a little bit because of something that happened to Angel that we didn't know anything about.
So when we come back, Mike Jewell's going to be here, our sports information director, and then in the third segment, we're going to talk about what happened to Angel.
Good luck with Mike.
Good luck with Mike. So please stay here on Channel 56, and we'll be right back.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Our guest this week is IPFW Sports Information Director Mike Jewell. Mike handles all of the statistical reporting work that goes on. He handles the media relations, the publicity, runs around during game time filling in for whoever can't show, like on Friday. Our public address announcer couldn't make it, so Mike had to fill in there. And Mike just told me during the break here that he's been working all morning on projects, and they are extremely boring. So why don't we start with those boring projects you were working on this morning?
Well, actually, they are pretty boring. It's looking through a bunch of photos from this year. We're trying to redo the Royal Dons rooms with up-to-date photos. So we sat down and we went through 670 photos just this morning, and we still got another 1,000 or more to go to see what we can put up in that room, what photos are good. So it's pretty boring when you're sitting there and you're just watching a slideshow of photos just flipping over your computer.
Are you going to leave any of the old ones up from some of those great teams we had in the past, some of those players?
I think they're going to leave a lot of the old ones up. I think they're just going to intermingle them in with the new ones. I know they want action shots with people in the crowd and stuff like that, and then some of our players that we've had in the past. There's some that are down in the archives I know we need to put up. Now, whether they'll want that or not, that's for the upper management to decide.
So you're going through all these are digital pictures apparently, because you're going through on your
Yeah.
computer? Well, that's hard on the back, hard on the eyes. I know what that's like.
You
I've been
get-
working on spreadsheets all day, and I feel the same way.
It gets hard on the eyes because we got to look at them, and we also still got to touch them up before we actually print them out. So we're going through all the ones.
Touch them up, so like if it's a basketball shot, it shows the ball going in. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that too, or actually touch them up where you actually put the basketball in the shot.
Oh.
No, some of them have turned out really good. We've got a lot of good photos this year. I think the strobes on the main court have helped us out a lot. We actually have a lot more photos that we can use next year in publications and advertising, so it's going to work out real good for us.
Who takes most of these shots? Elmer?
We've had Elmer take a lot this year, and we've also had a gentleman named Anthony Sanson, who's a senior on campus. He's been taking most of them digitally. He has also done photos for the News Sentinel and stuff like that, so he's been helping us out with a lot of action shots this year.
And so you're going to go through these. The Royal Dons room then is where you display them. That's behind the court, sort of near the weightlifting room, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, it's just basically once you go through those double doors, which are never unlocked, you'd go right into the Royal Dons room that has all the old trophies, different trophies from track and field back in the 70s to the volleyball GLVC championships that we won in women's volleyball. Just about every type of trophy that we've ever won is down there. If not there, I think it's in Arnie's little cage boxed up away is where he's got most of the other ones, or at home or something like that.
So Arnie has a cage?
Yeah.
How does he get out of it? That's
you
we
know
gotta
what?
keep him in there more.
I think Dave's the one that lets him out each time. It's more or less for the feeding.
So it's blame Schmidlin. That's what we do all the time.
I mean, Schmidlin's the one says he controls the bundles of bananas, and when Arnie wants a banana, Schmidlin lets him out instead where he could just slide it under. I mean, so.
So you'll want to pay attention to this interview, folks. This is the last time Mike Jewell will ever be allowed on the Arnie Ball Show, I think. That's all it takes. I think I'll start talking like that about Arnie, right?
Well, no. I mean, Arnie's been great this year when he's been around. I mean, but we haven't seen him a whole lot.
Since the weather, were you saying something about since the weather's gotten better and the golf courses have opened up, Arnie seems to have more long meetings off campus?
More free time. I mean, I started wondering when we had good weather before in January with Long Beach coming in, I was wondering if he was even going to be around during the beginning of the week. I thought he'd be out on the links already. But I hear he's walking around the office trying to get strokes from people. So, I mean, I don't know if he needs them or not. I think he's just trying to get ahead of the game.
Well, I guess if you're going to play golf a lot, you want to make sure that you're in a competitive position, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, he's a good golfer, that's for sure. I can't keep up with him.
So if he can get people to give him strokes as well as he plays, I wonder if he could do that for the volleyball team, try to get the opposing coach to spot us a few points before we start? That'd help.
Yeah, that would help.
We've lost a lot of 2-point games. Those extra points would have helped us, I think.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of 2-point games, but then we've had games like what you guys will be talking about, the Clark game. I mean, I went up for my office 5 minutes, come back down, and the score was the game was almost over. And I was like, what'd I miss? And everybody's like, oh, you just missed this, and well, that didn't make sense to me at all because I'm like, okay, that's only 6 points there.
Clark had a real passing problem. I think Nick Bellman might have served 8 or 9 straight points or something. It's just amazing.
That's probably what I missed then the whole time I was up there.
Yeah. So this Royal Dons room, to belong to the Royal Dons Club, you just have to contribute to the athletic program?
I think what my understanding is they have to contribute to the athletic program, and based on whatever levels they're at, is what perks or what benefits they would get back from the Royal Dons Club. Exactly, I'm not sure what those are. Those would go through like Mark Pope or Rick Granger.
So one of the things you do, Mike, we're going to switch over now to your statistical part of your job, is to make sure that the box scores, for instance, for every team, that each night get posted to the website, get sent on to the conference where they're compiled and so forth. So your job, in a lot of ways, really starts once the final whistle blows, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but it's gotten a lot easier with technology nowadays. We really don't we fax a lot to our newspapers and stuff like that, but for our other SIDs and our conference and stuff, we email the game files to each other, and we have it up on the web as quick as we get them. I mean, it doesn't take us very long at all. It just depends if the SID wants to do the work and get it over with. I've had a lot of cases where some of them won't even send you the game file for like 2 hours after the match is over. And sometimes you wonder what they're doing or if they're goofing around or what. But being electronically done nowadays has just made my life really, really easy.
I know several years ago, before everything was so computerized and the web was so prevalent.
Was that back in the day when you were around with the abacus, and
yeah,
or was that with the stone pallet?
Yeah, okay. Chiseling stone.
Chiseling stone.
We used to have to worry about calling the SID, calling the news, or especially the TV station, so they get it on for their late newscast. And Arnie would do that a lot. Lisa Horman, when she would travel with us, would make a lot of those calls for him. But now, basically, either they get faxed the box scores, or you get them so quickly electronically that you can get it done from your end.
Well, there's times I've been able to beat Arnie to the phone, but then there's other times that Arnie's beat me to the phone, and then there's times that I'm sure that Arnie just forgot about that match and just took off and went for the nearest beer he could find, because some of those were just not ones that I think he wanted to report. But
you think that's what Coach Ball does on the road after we play?
Well, after the phone call I got in Canada, I mean, I really started wondering when I asked them what they're doing. Oh, I'm sitting there drinking a beverage and eating pizza, watching the football game, New England game.
Oh, that's right. That was the game that was played in the snow, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, I find little things out from Dave Schmidlin. He tells me a little, but then you got to remember, you got Foxy, and I've been around Foxy probably longer than anybody that's been here, because we work together with the Wizards. So, I mean, I know what they used to load onto the bus when we were at the Wizards. So if we had the same option here, I'm sure I know what would be loaded onto the plane.
Dan Fox, he's talking about Dan Fox, our trainer. What Dan loads is several cases of water, which was something Dan has done this year that was really a good idea, that he keeps some coolers in the bus with water, because one of the things that will happen to players, especially playing in the winter where you're in heat and cold and so forth, you dehydrate quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's a good idea, to make sure players are drinking water while we're traveling on the bus.
Yeah, that actually is a good idea to do. I remember when we were both with the Wizards that they did that quite a bit. It was pop or water or the manager's choice of beverage. But they did it quite a bit, and it made it so that you didn't have to go out and spend a lot of money. The kids didn't have to use meal money to go get a pop at, say, a Walgreens or any place like that. So it makes it a little more easier for them to actually stay, I would say, hydrated most of the way there.
In the last 30 seconds or so, Mike, you've got how many sports going on? Our season's closing down. You've got baseball, softball.
I've got baseball, softball, or men's and women's track and field. Tennis is about winding up right now. So basically baseball and softball are the main ones.
Most of those are outside sports, which is kind of tough in Northern Indiana, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's been a lot of fun this year.
That was Sports Information Director Mike Jewell. And I forgot to say at the beginning of the segment, our sponsors for the middle segment here have been Farm Bureau Insurance and Freedom Financial. So when we come back, Arnie and I will talk a little bit about the upcoming match against Mercyhurst, and we're going to find out what did happen to Angel Ruiz this last weekend. So please stay with us.
the good earth. It gives us everything. And now you can give something back. By becoming an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resources Conservation Service care for the good earth, right in your own community. It's the only earth we'll ever have. Help make it a better place for all of us. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how.
A Stargate. That's the door to other worlds that my character Tilk and the rest of my team use on Stargate SG-1. It's a door to exploration and exciting adventure. And education can provide you with a similar passageway to a world full of possibilities. So stay in school and graduate.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. This final segment is sponsored by Marathon Ashland Oil and Fujifilm. Arnie, I think Mike Jewell just became Mike Moss's best friend because I'm sure you want equal time with Jewell, so Moss can sit back there and skate for the next 6 minutes. He's not likely to be criticized by you. Or would you rather go straight to talking about Mercyhurst? And you do owe us. You do owe us an explanation on what happened to Angel Ruiz this last weekend. So which one would you like to do first?
I really thought that this segment was going to be sponsored by Alco, the way Jewell's carrying on.
I didn't know that is what you did every night after we played on the road. I'm really shocked.
I'm pretty disappointed that I haven't got to participate in it. That's what I'm disappointed in.
Well, the one thing that Mike Jewell did not say is he did not say that you bought. He just said that you consumed.
I don't ever buy.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that. Even Coach Johnson does more whining on the road because you won't buy.
That's how I get strokes. I don't buy.
You don't buy?
You know why my golf game's so good?
Why?
Because when I was originally hired at this position at the university in 1981, I was hired as a sports information director, intramural director, men's and women's volleyball coach, and because I was organized, I still had time to play golf. That's why my game was so good.
And now they've got about 6 people replacing you, don't they?
Doing all those jobs, and none of them can play golf worth a crap.
So there's probably a lesson to be learned here. I'm not sure what it is, and I don't think we have time to go into it.
I'm not sure that Mike will catch on even if we did, if the lesson was out there.
Angel Ruiz, so tell us about this thumb of his.
Huh?
Tell us about Angel's thumb.
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 Like this?
Yep.
He hurt it. And the sports information director didn't even tell us he hurt it. You think you ought to be able to do that.
He's supposed to know everything, isn't he?
Yes, well.
That's sports information, right?
He's supposed to know everything.
We have to call him the sports lack of information director.
In defense of Michael, Michael really does a good job. I don't want him to get the big head here because, well, he's got a big enough head the way it is, but I don't want him to get too big a head, but he really does a good job, and I appreciate all he does, and I need to say that publicly. Now make sure Angel becomes an All-American, Mike.
That is one of the jobs of the sports information.
One of his jobs.
That's PR for someone that you want to promote.
That's correct.
In fact, it was Dave Hilbert who probably single-handedly got Lisa Miller all that attention during that senior season, to where she was just a shoo-in as an All-American.
Well, there's certainly.
She's a great player and deserved it, certainly.
Absolutely.
But unless you have someone promoting you, how does a coach 2,000 miles away know that you're a great player?
You really have to do. There's a whole bunch of work that goes into promoting those young individuals to not only get All-American awards, but academic All-American awards, et cetera, and Mike really has all that responsibility. It's a lot of work, and Mike does spend an awful lot of time in the office, and that's why he sucks at golf. And he's not any good.
And he's not during he's not during our warm-up watching for our players to hurt themselves and try to hide it from the coaches.
That's true. He should have told us that Angel in warm-up on Saturday night in a blocking drill hits his thumb against Josh Sanders' elbow or arm or something. And Sunday, when Angel and I were together, he says, "Coach, look at my thumb." And I said, "What happened?" "Oh, I did it before we played Loyola." "Oh, well, that tells me why I'm mad at you for half the match because you won't hit the ball, and I don't even know it. So I look like a bad guy again, and the guy's hurt. I'd still look like a bad guy. I still want him to hit it harder, but That does explain a little bit about games 3 and 4 against Loyola the other night.
He must think he's Tom Coverdale, right? He can play injured.
Well, he did play injured, but he just wasn't very effective.
That kind of injury is in the wrong spot for your main hitter in volleyball because he has to hit the ball hard and it impacts right there where he's got the sprain.
Yeah, I mean, at least it could have been on his left hand instead of his right hand. But anyhow, he gutted it out, and we survived the weekend without getting anybody else hurt.
So he should be ready to go by Friday night when we play Mercyhurst?
Hopefully. Yep.
Mercyhurst, we played them up there earlier in the season, and actually Mercyhurst didn't seem to have the team that they typically do. They seem to be down this year.
Mercyhurst has a team that's even struggling more than ours. They had a complete turnover of their team, lost all those senior kids, those good kids they had. I think they have one returning, maybe 2 returning players, a setter in the middle, but have really, really struggled. And, Craig's done really a nice job with that program up there. And they're just one of those cycles like what we've been in, what we were in last year, and we're anticipating being in this year. If you can't recruit and year after year after year, sometimes you have a down year, and that's kind of where they're at right now.
So we play Friday night. John, is that going to be televised? Yes, Friday night, our match against Mercyhurst will be televised here on Channel 56. It'll be at 7 o'clock. We'd like you to come out to the Gate Sports Center, but if you can't make it, this is our last home match.
And IU's not playing.
IU's not playing this time, so there's no excuse.
That's correct.
But it's still part of spring break, which is a problem.
Well, but at least IU's not playing.
And
senior night.
Senior night, that's what I was going to ask. We got a couple seniors, and we'll honor those.
Yep, absolutely.
So for head coach Arnie Ball, our sports information director Mike Jewell, the entire staff here at Channel 56, and our sponsors, Alco, Dairy Queen, Farm Bureau Insurance, Freedom Financial, Fujifilm, and Marathon Ashland Oil. It's Mark Franke. Thanks for watching. So long, and join us again next week. Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. This week we're going to preview our last matches during the regular season. We're on the road this weekend in the MIVA Conference. Dennis Santiago is our guest. We'll talk to him during the second segment. And when we return, Arnie and I will talk about last weekend's win over Mercyhurst here at home. So please stay with us here on Channel 56. Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. I'm your host, Mark Franke, and our sponsors for this segment are Alco and Dairy Queen. Arnie, we actually had a very productive Saturday last weekend, didn't we? We had it off.
Hey, we did have the day off, didn't we?
Yeah. I got all my outside yard equipment running, my lawnmower and edger and all that stuff. I got the garage cleaned out, paid some bills.
Yeah, I didn't do the last part.
The only thing I didn't get done was to take a nap.
You know, I didn't do that either. I think I tried. My wife wouldn't let me because I was doing the same kind of things you were doing. Maybe that's why I got the motorcycle out and kind of took a little spin to get away from.
Oh, I didn't
those
see. I
honeydew
didn't see you
looks.
leave with that. Of course, I was working in the garage. I can't see your place from my garage.
We were out and about, and I really wasn't paying attention to your place either. So.
So it was really nice to have a day off.
Well, I think the kids appreciated it too.
Yeah, I bet they did.
This traveling's beginning to get to all of us. So.
We got another weekend to travel. Actually, we have probably 2 more weekends. Or actually, we're traveling from here on out till we lose, right? We have to go this weekend.
Correct. We'll go to Ohio State Friday, and then turn around and go to Ball State on Saturday. Great scheduling by Dr. Pope or someone. Certainly not I.
The athletic director has to be talked to.
Yeah. And then the following weekend will be the first round of the MIVA tournament, and it looks like it would be us traveling to Loyola or maybe Ohio State, but one of those two probably.
The other nice thing about having Saturday off is it came after a win on Friday night.
Yes.
And we had to play without several starters. Again, we're down to... We actually were checking Lisa Horman's records to see if she had any eligibility left because we didn't have many bodies left on the bench.
I tell you, from that standpoint, it can't get over fast enough. I'm not sure how many healthy bodies in another 2 weeks we're going to have left. And we need to talk a little bit about senior night too, so don't let me forget to come back to that. But we'll talk about the injuries to start with. 2 weeks ago, Saturday, when we played Loyola here at home, you recall games 3 and 4 when we were playing. Some of us got after Angel a little bit because he wasn't hitting the ball very hard. Wasn't serving the ball very hard, wasn't hitting the ball very hard. And I find out Sunday, he was over at the house for Easter lunch. I found out Sunday they broke his thumb Saturday night, warming up with Josh. Now, I didn't ask any questions after that. But all I know is he broke his thumb and couldn't play. And of course, on Wednesday of that same week, Ryan Staley stepped on Angel and flipped his ankle over, and he couldn't walk for a couple days, and finally attempted to play Friday and Saturday, but it's just wasn't going to work.
Let me see if I can recap all this for everybody, because if you don't have a scorecard, you're not going to stay up with it. We start the season with Jeff Patak and Matty Zabashevsky, our 2 leading hitters, out for the season. We get to the end of the season, we have Angel Ruiz and Ryan Staley, our 2 leading hitters during the season, out and playing Librero in a conference match.
Yeah, that's true. And in the middle of all that, the gentleman you're going to have on here a little bit took a shot in the thumb and really has not been very good in regards to setting the ball because he's had an injury to his thumb all year.
That was early in the season.
Early in the season, yeah. He's better now, but and Dusty Sherman has a really bad back, so we throw that in the mix. And I could probably name some more. It's time for it to get over with.
Yeah, but we do have Coach Johnson back from vacation finally. He'll be with us for the last weekend, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So
he was down
things are looking up.
He was down in Florida with a beautiful suntan, and I understand he and his wife did their own thing during the whole trip, so they got along very well and are still married.
That's right.
After vacation. That's a major accomplishment, at least in my house.
That is a major accomplishment to have to go on vacation together and come back with still married.
Yeah.
So going back to the Mercyhurst match, I didn't think we played all that well till Game 4. But obviously we're playing under a lot of
actually, I thought we played pretty well early in Game 1. Game 2 we played pretty well. Game 3 we were awful. And then Game 4 we got off to a great start and obviously finished out. But with Angel being out, and we really don't have another middle, and we've known that all year long. Jason Morgan played middle at club, so we put him in the middle. I thought he did okay.
Yeah,
he did pretty good. And we let Aris and and Nick on the outside, and Aris had a career 19 kills. I mean, that's the most he's ever had in the whole time he's been here. Maybe for a whole season, let alone one game. No, right. Aris, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Well, they did announce his career kills because it was senior night, and he was one of the seniors.
Yeah, but I thought that we did pretty well, and Dennis begged me all week to put Jason next to him so that he could block middle. And so Dennis ends up blocking middle, and we put Jason on the right-hand side. And we did some pretty nice things, actually, you know, considering we really haven't practiced that lineup except for a day and a half. And we have very inexperienced people at almost every position except maybe ours and Josh. You know, I'm pretty pleased with what we did. We could have really folded and not been in a position. Mercyhurst has not won many matches, but they were a real close match with Findlay and Ohio State and Loyola, all three. And obviously I was very concerned about how we might come out and play.
Between games 2 and 3, when we have the 10-minute break, I looked at the stat sheet, and we were up 2 games to none at that point, and Mercyhurst was beating us in every statistical category except service aces.
Well, you know, the one statistic that's not on that sheet is their passing, and they didn't pass the ball very well.
They couldn't find a third passer, could they?
No, and when I got on their libero and our guys got the ball in the libero, they had a lot of trouble, and then we switched to the other kid later on. And that stat doesn't show up in what you're talking about. And I thought we served the ball pretty aggressively. Jason's got a good serve, and you know he's playing, comes in and plays. Ours has a pretty good serve. Dennis finally got his serve in quite a bit the other night, and when he gets it in, he can serve the ball very well. So that doesn't show up on those stats you saw.
And then when you had to go to serving subs late in the match, you had to get the cripples off the bench and send them in. He's sending Ryan Staley, who couldn't jump.
Yeah.
They got mad at him when he didn't jump on his serve, right?
Well, I know, but you know, I put him in there for one reason. We're behind. He's got to go in there and jump serve. But you know, Dusty came in the last game, and served 3 or 4 balls, or even jump served the last 2 balls, and really got the crowd into it. Actually, we had a nice crowd.
Those were rather nice jump serves too, weren't they?
Well, people don't realize us little guys can stick the ball once in a while, except Dennis.
Except for Dennis. Dennis Santiago will join us on the next segment. On the last segment, we'll get to senior night and talk about RS and Josh.
Okay, do that. Yep.
So when we come back, Dennis will join me, and we'll talk a little bit what his plans are for the summer. So please stay with us.
For over 3 decades, Dr. James Owen has been credited for helping IPFW become a top-rated school through not only teaching, but also his involvement in the Fort Wayne community.
The kind of people that the city were hiring at the time were people with advanced computer skills. I thought, my Lord, unless my students get up to speed in this particular area, skill and talent, knowledge, that they weren't going to be competitive in the job market.
Dr. Owen developed courses that would train his students to become leaders in the community.
At one time, of the 6 major department heads in the city of Fort Wayne, 3 of them were former students of mine that I'd recommended for the job.
He makes a point to stay in touch with former students, and that makes a difference in their lives.
Whenever I think about undergraduate days, I always think about old Professor so-and-so. She said, I have one like that too. And she said that's Dr. Owen.
IPFW, the right school, right here, right now.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Our sponsors for this segment are Farm Bureau Insurance and Freedom Financial. Our guest this week is freshman setter Dennis Santiago. Dennis was on the show earlier in the season. We talked a little bit about his background, and so this time I think we're going to focus on his perspective at the end of the season, what our season's been like. We're going to spend some time talking about his plans for the summer because it includes some special training. and some summer school here, back here. But before we go any farther than that, let's see the thumb that we were talking about. Show us the bad thumb.
I don't have any bad.
You don't have a bad thumb?
No, okay.
Are they both, can you hold them out and they both?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
So your thumb's okay?
Yep.
You're not injured anymore?
No.
Okay, so here we actually have a healthy player on the program. Last week must have been a lot of fun for you because you lost your two main hitters. You ended up getting to block middle, which you haven't done all season. And we got an important conference match to win at home.
Well, Jason played well. The other guy, Pooch, Harris played really well, and Nick helped a lot. And it's the senior night. Josh and Harry going to push and to play because all the families over there.
Yep. Ours had his career high night for kills. I believe it was 18 or something like that.
Yeah, he hit it really well.
I don't remember what Josh's stats were. I think at one time you were told to get Josh into the offense, weren't you?
He bounced one ball.
He bounced a couple of them, that's right.
Well, he bounced one. Yeah, I don't remember that one.
So tell us a little bit about when you have to block middle. What does that mean for you? How do you react to that? You're normally blocking on the right side, which means you're blocking their left side hitter, their main hitter. Now you're blocking the middle. You're going to block their middle hitter, right? Plus go out and help where you were before.
That's easy. Commit every single time. I will commit. I stay with the middle, outside 1-1.
Oh, you committed every time?
Yeah.
By committee means that when the middle hitter jumps as if he's going to attack, our blocker jumps with him, regardless of whether he's going to get set. So if the middle doesn't get set, we've got a man up in the air and he can't help. That was you?
Yep.
How many blocks you get?
4 assistant blocks.
You've assisted in 4 blocks?
Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad.
It's okay.
For a rookie in the middle. We've got, you're talking during the break about possible MIVA tournaments where we're going to end up and so forth. But we got a big weekend coming up. We go to Ohio State on Friday night and then Ball State on Saturday night. And a win, Ball State I think maybe has a 1-game lead in the conference. Ohio State is maybe 4th but could get to 3rd. So they certainly don't want to overlook us and get upset, do they?
I don't know. I don't really, because that depends on us, how hard the team play and see Angel will be back or no. Because Angel right now, he said the finger is hurt, and he said he know we practice today. But I don't know if Angel will be back ready 100%. I hope that.
Well, Angel's going to play though, isn't he?
I hope. Well, I don't know. He have the finger broken.
Well, you just got to not use the finger to block with, right? When you had your thumb, you had a real hard sprain, didn't you?
Yeah.
It turned out it wasn't broken, although we thought it might have been.
No, it's okay.
Obviously, you're setting the ball all the time. That puts pressure on it. But you think hitting or blocking, it really is harder on a thumb that's badly sprained?
It's really hard. When you hit it and you serve everything, that helps pretty bad. The setting, no help so bad. But when you jump to hitting, when you're hitting the ball, that hurts.
That hurts?
Yeah.
So Angel hopefully will be back. Ryan should be back. He was playing some over the weekend. And then we go to Ohio State. Ohio State played very well when they were here early in the season. We were competitive with them. Ball State, we were competitive, but Ball State was not playing as well then as they've been playing lately in the season. So we got some tough matches, don't we?
It's not much, but us can beat every team in the conference, depending on how hard the team play every single time. But it's not go to Ball State, Ohio, and say it's impossible to win that game. It's not impossible, because I can beat that team if the team us play really well.
Oh, sure. Of course we can beat them. That's the nature of our conference. Most teams can beat most other teams. This year there's a lot of parity in the conference among the top 4, and I think Quincy and us, even though we're having a down year, I think we can certainly beat any of those top 4 teams if we play well on a given night.
I know.
This summer, I understand from Coach Ball that you're going to go home for a while, but then you're going to come back for our summer session, and you're also going to do some special training when you're here, right?
Yeah, I want to training. Really. with the coach son and with the coach all the summer for be ready for the next season.
You're going to train with Loy.
Yeah.
Loy ball. Can't train with the coach. You can train with Loy though, right?
Yeah.
So Loy, who was a setter here from I think 91 to 94, now has played with the U.S. national team in the last couple of Olympics, and he's been playing professionally in Italy right now. He'll be home, lives half the year here in Fort Wayne, and he's going to train you. Is he going to train you to be taller? Because he's 6'9".
I know. It's going to be a nice experience for me. Because he has a lot of experience and he's really, really good. And he can help me a lot.
So what are you going to focus on? Just setting? You're going to focus on blocking, serving?
In my setting, in my serve, in everything. Because for that I'm here, for work with everything.
And you're also going to take some summer classes while you're here, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take theater.
Theater?
Yep.
What kind of class in theater?
Acting.
Acting?
Yep.
Is that your major?
I need it for my major.
Oh, okay. So you're filling a requirement for your major. But what is your major?
Business.
Business? And theater is required for your major?
Yeah.
No.
It's area 4. I need one class for area 4.
Area 4 for general general education.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I got a degree in business. I never took a theater class. So you're going to take acting?
Yeah.
Do you think you need help in that?
I have Harris, Heraclus, the senior guy, in my class. He will take the same class in the summer.
So you intend to have a lot of fun with that class, don't you?
Yeah, I will.
But you're going to work pretty hard, too.
So.
You're going to go home just maybe for a month or so is all right?
Yeah.
Your home is in Bayamon, which is near San Juan on the, let me get this right, the northeast coast of Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Yeah. And visit for a while. I met your mom and dad when they came with you when you came to school in August. You have younger brothers, sisters?
I have 2 sisters, one 80 and one 20.
Oh, one's older?
Yeah. I'm the middle in the family.
You're the middle one?
Yep.
It's like growing up between 2 girls.
So easy.
It's bad enough. It's bad enough having a older sister. We got a younger one too, right? So, what else you got planned then? What are you going to do with time when you're home? What are you going to do?
I want to spend time with my mom because she's sick. I want to stay with her and have fun with her and go training for a couple of times. But I want to really spend a lot of time with my mom.
And just your training while you're there is probably just more of the physical training.
Go to the gym, lifting,
lift and
stuff like that.
Little running.
Yeah.
Just to stay physically in shape, right?
Exactly.
Because I think when you get back and Lloyd gets you under his wing, he's going to beat you.
I know.
He's gonna make you sweat a lot, I think.
I know. Well, I want that.
You want that?
Yep.
Okay. In the last minute or so here, then next year, we talked a little bit about that too before, about coming back. We get our injured players back. Maddie and Jeff will be back next year. We got some new players coming in, different team. And you're just a freshman. You got 3 more years of this.
I know. It's funny because Jeff and Maddie going back 100%. Angel is a senior. Other couple of guys, because one guy of Turkey is going to play middle. The team going to be really well, really good. Going to be, I want to be in the Final Four. I will, for that, stay in the summer because I want to practice hard and be ready for the next season.
Well, obviously, when you go to the gym every day, you see those banners flying about when we were made it to the Final Four, which is 4 times. You've probably watched some videotapes of those games.
I see the last one in the 99.
99, the Long Beach match?
Long Beach match, yeah.
Oh, I still have nightmares about that one. So we need to get back there and avenge that loss because that was a heartbreaker.
I know.
We'll do it. That's freshman setter Dennis Santiago, who's got big plans. You heard it here first. He made the prediction. We're going to the Final Four before he graduates. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about this weekend's trips throughout the Midwest, and Arnie will join me for that, so please stay here.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still, they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. This final segment is sponsored by Fujifilm and Marathon Ashland Oil. Well, Arnie,
you got through it, didn't you?
I got through it. I did not do a very good job of interviewing Dennis.
I want you to know that Mike Moss was making fun of you back there.
Mike Moss was making fun of me.
Yeah.
Well, he earned it. I tell you, I made enough fun of him that turnabout's fair play.
I told him it was his turn to take a shot.
It was his turn to take a shot.
Yeah.
Well,
and he did.
He did.
He took multiples, actually.
Multiples back. Well, it's probably fortunate that I couldn't pick it up over the earphone. I didn't hear him saying all those things.
I did, you know, speaking of Mike and TV and so on and so forth, I did notice, I happened to see the show from Friday night because it was senior night, you know, and I wanted to watch the first part of it. And so I was watching the prelude to the game. Mike, you need to get a box to stand up on next to Ryan. You get a high box, you know. I mean, come on here. He keeps. You're lucky to get to his navel. You got to stick that microphone up there so high. Anyhow, just thought I'd throw that in there.
John just says we're down to 5 minutes. You've wasted enough time. So
I can go on. I got some more about that whole scenario.
You wanted to talk about our seniors, Josh and ours.
What did I want to say?
It was senior night last Friday night. It was our last time to play in the Gates gym.
You know, it was a nice recognition for both those kids, and they both play well. That's even better yet. Normally, you know, Aris might not have got to play as much as he's gotten to play this year. And it was also nice that Josh's dad was there, and Aris had someone there representing his family as well. And I just thought we did something a little different than we've done in the past. We made that great big cardboard. It's not cardboard. It's made out of fiberboard of some kind. It had their picture on it, and all the kids signed it. And you know, we had a plaque for them and stuff. And then it was a real nice thing. And people were very appreciative of what Josh and Aris have done for us. And they're both going to be around next year. They both will have one more year to finish school, but they will both graduate in the spring of 203. I'm sorry, 203.
203, right?
Yeah. Yep. So.
Oh, John says he's going to graduate in the spring of 203 too.
Well, we can take care of that. Maybe not, John. We need
John,
to hang
John,
you around,
John
you
is,
big guy.
For those of you who don't know, John is our director. He's back in the control booth, and he's the one who tells us when to shut up because we've gone on too long.
John, are you coming back next year to do the show?
Yeah, we're trying to get a commitment from John. Is he?
Well, after we did the thing with Bernie a couple weeks ago, John, you got to come back.
John's being a little non-committal about whether he's coming back or not.
We'll pay you a whole bunch, John.
Okay, yeah, we'll double your salary.
Yeah, Mark says we'll double your salary. What a deal, huh?
But we'll pay it in Canadian currency. This weekend we got to go Friday night to Ohio State, and we don't know if Angel's going to play or not, right? Or is he going to play? But
we will know Friday night.
Friday night.
His thumb is a lot better right now. But, you know, after you win, I mean, this has always been our philosophy. After you win, you don't mess with the lineup.
So Angel's going to be libero again?
Well, we won. What do you think? You're not buying into that, are you?
Well, it doesn't matter to me. Just go along for the ride.
We'll have to just play it by ear, day by day. I saw Angel today and saw the trainer today. His thumb is much, much better. Same thing with Ryan. You know, Ryan could have played Friday night, but I watched him warm up and he just wasn't jumping like he normally does. So we'll play each one day by day. And you know what? I kind of like to mess with Hanson's head anyhow, the coach at Ohio State. So maybe we just won't let him play at least the first game. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
And then we go to Ball State. Ball State has, what, a one-game lead in the conference over Loyola?
No, it's tied. Loyola beat Ball State over the weekend.
Ah.
So it's actually tied between Ball State and Lewis is ahead on the tiebreaker. How about that? I don't like that at all because the conference tournament for the Final Four is to be at the #1 seed, and if we're not there, we want to go to the coaches' meetings and the games, and I'd much rather drive to Muncie than to have to go up to Lewis.
Oh yeah. So how do we affect that? Roll over and play dead for Ball State.
Yeah, I don't know that we can at this point.
Well, but Ball State clearly will need. They'll play both nights because who's traveling with us? Mercyhurst? Are they? Mercyhurst will be on the opposite nights of us.
You mean at the tournament?
No, this weekend. So Mercyhurst will be at Ball State on Friday night, then we go Saturday night.
Right.
They need to win both of those. They can't afford to.
They cannot afford to lose
caught.
one of those two.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there'll be a lot of pressure on them.
Yep.
Not on us.
Hasn't been much pressure on us for a long time.
That's true. John's putting the pressure on us because we only got a minute left.
There's been a lot of pressure on some of our personal entertainment on the road. You know, that kind of stuff. That's about the only pressure we've had all year. My golf game, you know.
Your golf game's been suffering, right?
You know, this is not a good schedule by me. Obviously, the one good thing is that the time changed. So we go to play Ohio State at 7 their time, but actually 6 our time. So we'll get back in a decent hour.
Time changes already?
The time it changed last weekend, Mark.
Did it?
Yes,
wow.
It did. I planned it like that. So that helps a little bit.
Well, that makes sense on why I called somebody in Minneapolis today and it was 6 o'clock their time and she was up.
Yes, Mark.
That's why. Okay.
Yeah. That's why we're leaving at 1, which is 2 Ohio time.
I'm in charge of the team meal money on the road and scouting the other team. I'm not in charge of knowing when to go, where we're supposed to be, or anything important. So.
Time changed.
For Dennis Santiago, head coach Arnie Ball, John, Mike, the whole crew here at Channel 56, our sponsors, Alco, Dairy Queen, Farm Bureau Insurance, Freedom Financial, Fujifilm, Marathon Ashland Oil, Smart Frankie. So long. Thanks for watching, and please join us again next week. Welcome to the Arnie Ball Show. The MIVA tournament starts this week. We'll be at Ohio State on Saturday night. Our guest on the program is Jason Morgan. And when we come back, Arnie and I will talk about last weekend's tough road trip where we lost to both Ohio State and to Ball State. So please stay with us here on Channel 56. Welcome to this week's Arnie Ball Show. I'm your host, Mark Franke. Our sponsors for this segment are Alco Distributors and Dairy Queen. And I did that without having the list of
No,
them up
put it
there.
up there. John forgot to put it up
I
there,
had to
didn't
pull
he?
those out of memory.
You
I
did
guess,
good.
well, it's near the end of the season. You think I'd remember the sponsors by now.
Well, there's a whole bunch of them. I don't know whether you can remember them all or not.
I'm going to work on it. I have them all 6 memorized by the time we get done, although we probably should tell them we had to reshoot that 30-second lead in the tease because I forgot the name of the player we had.
Well, it was
today.
Jason's fault. That's when you get Jason on here, you
Yeah,
kind of chastise him for that.
I flash back to Jason Stang. Some of you people have been around for a long time watching the program. Remember Jason Stang? I just went blank.
Yeah, well, we kind of need to go blank with Jason Stang.
We need to go blank in a lot of ways. And we went blank in the win column last weekend, as a matter of fact.
We did 0 for 2, didn't we?
Yeah, we did 0 for 2.
Yeah, hey, but you know, John kind of cracked on you a little second ago. You know, he's
John?
talking
John
about
Yow's back in the control
talking about
room.
your Budweiser and how it's kind of fits into this. What's he trying to say about you?
It was disparaging, and that's probably why we weren't on the air at the time.
Maybe it's a good thing John's going to get a real job here one of these days. He's getting a little like a loose cannon back there.
He is. He's getting out of control.
Yeah.
He says he has prospects. He thinks he's going to get a real job, while you and I, we're stuck here.
Real job? I don't know what a real job. I haven't had a real job for 35 years.
Yeah, I'd hate to get a real job.
Yeah,
now. I'm getting kind of old for that.
I don't want a real job.
We could use a real win one of these weekends, though, couldn't we?
We had one 2 weeks ago.
That's right. It was conference too. It counted.
Yeah, we had a couple. Matter of fact, until last weekend, we were 2 out of 3.
Yep.
Wins.
That's right. Probably instead of talking about whether we won or lost, we ought to talk about how many uninjured players we had. We're down to what, 7 now?
That might be
8.
stretching a little
8.
bit. I'm not sure we got that many uninjured players.
Well, we know Angel's got his broken thumb. Ryan Staley has the turned ankle, right?
Mm-hmm. Dusty has a real bad back.
Dusty has a bad back, so we're down to 7.
People don't know that one.
Of course, Maddie and Jeff out for the whole year.
Mitch has a bad back also.
Mitch has a bad back.
Jason and Josh kind of have a mental disorder of some kind.
That's something I'm supposed to ask him about in the next segment.
We just go. You want me to go down the whole list? I'll give you the whole list. I'm not sure there's one quality, healthy individual on our team.
Of course, Coach Johnson just has a bad attitude.
You
That's
know, well, he and Schmidlin fit together there.
Yes, yeah,
they both have bad attitudes. You and I may be the only truly mentally, physically healthy individuals. Well, maybe one of us. I'm not sure about both of us.
I tried to mow my grass for the first time yesterday. I had to stop halfway and go in and take a break.
Yeah.
It was just too hot.
Well, I tried
too long.
I tried to play volleyball with these guys last week and went, duh, how stupid is that?
Now wait a minute. Every time you're yelling at them and they don't play up to the level you think they should, you tell them, I could make that play. Did you go out and prove that you couldn't last week?
Yes. I did. And I'm willing to confess. I went back to the golf game.
Went back to golf.
And it's not very good either. So.
Yeah, yesterday I was out. I was home mowing and the golf course was full. Were you out there playing? Is that why we had a delay taping by a day?
I was not out there.
Because you were playing golf yesterday.
I was not out there playing.
You're not out there playing.
I was not out there playing.
Well, we're flexible about a lot of things. We're even flexible on the court. We played last week. Angel was libero for a while, and Ryan played on and off. And
you know, it's just really a crapshoot, Mark. You know, it's been from the very beginning until now, and of course we're taping the show on Wednesday, and we haven't had practice yet this week. We're going to practice today, Thursday, and Friday. And I don't know the status of Angel or Ryan until this afternoon. Angel tried to play against Ohio State and was very effective the first game, offensively especially, but he's really afraid to put that thumb up there and let somebody bang on it, and I probably would be too, as hard as the guys hit the ball. And after the second game, he said, Coach, I really need to be taken out. And of course, we didn't play very well in the first game anyhow, so we did take him out. And Jason came in and played middle, and Jason's done a pretty good job playing middle, seeing as how he's never played for us. He played in club ball in the middle. And we ended up with that same group playing down at Ball State. And unfortunately, the real problem is not so much our offense, even though the numbers don't show that we performed very well, but it's our passing. You know, we couldn't pass the ball to Ohio State. We couldn't pass the ball at Ball State.
Well, the offense starts with a pass.
Yeah, I mean, we just couldn't pass the ball. Now, granted, both those teams have a couple guys that go up and really bang the ball, but Ohio State did that when they were here, remember? And we talked to the kids about it, and we worked on it. But boy, it didn't make any difference. Now, Also, a lot of these kids, I mean, Nick Bellman, it's not true with ours, but Nick in particular, have never played in those big arenas before. And certainly the depth perception is much different than those big arenas. But if we don't do any better passing this weekend, we're still going to have a lot of problems.
I got some good news for you in that regard. They told me at St. John's on Saturday night that this is a big year for St. John's. It's celebrating its 50th birthday this year, and I just laughed. I said, our entire coaching staff's older than that. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
So we are older than St. John's Arena.
I mean, you and I.
And well, Dave's not. Okay, Dave's not, but Denny is too.
Well, that's a real nice thing to know. I'm real glad
we're
you
older
told
than all
me
the
that.
buildings.
I'm glad you told me that.
Well, was it at Ohio State? Ohio State on Friday night where for game one we hit, what, 47, 48%, scored 18 points.
Yeah.
That's all we could score.
Correct. But when you pass the ball over the net or you get ace, they had 11 aces.
You don't get an attempt that goes against your stats,
I mean,
right?
they had 11 aces against us. Offensively, Josh, against Ohio State, Josh did a nice job. Ours was good offensively. So was Nick, because Ryan played libero part of the time. And I told you, Angel had a great game. I mean, when we passed the ball, we did fine. But as you alluded to before, offense starts with passing, and if you don't pass the ball, it don't make any difference.
I think you said Friday night at Ohio State, Mitch Dreisbach played as well as he's played all season.
That's as good as he's played offensively. Obviously some other things, but that's as good as he's played offensively. About 2 weeks ago, we had a little session with him in practice that was kind of like a Marine Corps situation, and apparently he's gotten the message, because I thought he played real hard Saturday night as well. Now, once again, he's still young and makes a lot of mistakes, but at least he was very aggressive, and I like that part.
Well, he comes from a football family, so you have to. Coach Smidlin's probably good at knowing how to get through to him, right? Being an ex-football player himself.
We neither one have done a very good job up until a couple weeks ago, and actually Denny's the one that maybe even got that done. But we just we made a statement in practice with him, and I think it got through.
Well, and that's really what you're hoping for. You're getting to the end of the season. We've had to play our young kids a lot. These freshmen are getting a lot of playing time. You'd want them to be improving and ending the season at a higher note than where they started.
That's why you practice and play, so you get better at the end. So hopefully we're going to get a little better this weekend.
That's been the theory all season?
That's been the theory. Theory.
When we come back, we'll leave the theoretical and we'll get to the practical. Jason Morgan will join me. We'll talk a little bit about the freshman who's gotten a lot of playing time over the last couple of weeks. So please stay with us.
It is more than a trial by fire. It is a rite of passage, a challenge to join the elite. And if you succeed, if you can master your fear, outsmart your enemy, and never yield even to yourself, you will be changed forever. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I'm David Copperfield, and throughout my career I've done lots of magic. And I made a few things disappear. But there's one thing I can't make disappear: teenage skin problems. If I could do that, I'd be able to restore a teenager's self-esteem. But then I wouldn't be a magician. I'd be a dermatologist.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. Our sponsors for this segment are Freedom Financial and Fujifilm. Our guest this week is Jason Morgan. Jason is a freshman who has played several positions this year. Last couple of weeks he's been playing middle, as a starting middle, as a matter of fact, while Angel Ruiz is out with an injury. Also played some opposite, I think, this year, and he might have even been setting at one point, I'm not sure. He played just about everywhere. Jason, give us a little bit about your background, where you're from, what you've done in volleyball before you got to IPFW and so forth.
Okay, I'm from Minnesota, Minneapolis, just a suburb, and I haven't played high school volleyball ever because we don't have it in Minnesota. So every week I had to drive or fly or just travel 300 miles to play club volleyball in Wisconsin. So that's what I've been doing for the past, before I came here, for 2 years. My freshman and sophomore year we had it in Minnesota, but it wasn't very big sport, so it was kind of tough to do it, and I was just kind of getting into it. So
wasn't there a club in Minnesota? I know Chris Gislin was with a club. In fact, his mom coached in it.
Yeah.
Is that the club you were in?
That's the club I was in my freshman year, and then after that, my sophomore year, it just kind of disappeared. So that's when I had to start looking at different clubs, and it all just kind of expanded on from there.
So you travel just to practice with your club team?
Just to practice every Saturday, Sunday on the weekends. Every Saturday, Sunday.
Wow. And how did you end up with IPFW? Did you find us, or someone talk to you?
Yeah, I think we were in a tournament in Chicago, and my parents started talking to Coach, and then I started talking to Coach. I don't know if it was Schmidlin or Coach Ball. I think it might have been both, but everything just kind of kept going, and then I visited out here, really liked it, and that's when I decided to come.
You came. Let's see. You played middle and club, right?
Yes.
But you were not necessarily recruited as a middle. You didn't expect to play middle when you got here.
I actually asked Coach that when I came out here, and he said probably not, because I'm not as tall as a lot of the other middles that we play against. So I think he recruited me more as a outside or a right side.
How tall are you?
6'5".
That's what we list you as, or that's what you really are?
That's what you guys list me as. I think I'm 6'4".
Yeah, well, you're closer than most. Some of those are amazing. So when I hear the players announcing their heights, I think, we got to be making this stuff up.
Yeah.
Of course, Raul Papaleo was the first one. Like, I don't know if you ever knew him. We would list him as 6'1". He wasn't 6'1". He wasn't 6 foot.
Yeah.
And he'd get very upset if we'd bring that to his attention. So
yeah.
I guess we started lying early.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of them are kind of fidged a little bit on the heights. I know Ryan Staley says he's 6'3", and
oh, there's no way.
He's about 6 foot maybe, if that. So I don't know.
So 6'4", 6'5", whatever. You did get a chance to play middle, because when Angel got the broken thumb, and as Coach Ball said in the last segment, the problem is when he's blocking.
Mm-hmm.
That he's really worried he's going to get the thumb hit hard, and he could break it worse than what it is. It's a rather minor fracture now. So you had to move into that middle spot, and you played the last, what, two or three weekends that way?
Yeah, I think I've played 3 games so far against Ohio State, Ball State, and Mercyhurst. And Mercyhurst was the first game that I played. Yeah, it's a tough position to just kind of go into, not really practicing at all. Like, I haven't played once this whole year middle, practicing-wise. But, you know, it's just kind of go with it, I guess, and I just remembered stuff that I learned last year and previous years, and kind of brought it to the court and see what I could do and try to do my best.
Well, it was either you or Dusty Sherman, so I guess it had to be you, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we don't have a very deep bench, so.
So, what do you think about this season? Probably knowing the reputation of IPFW, you're probably somewhat surprised by the fact we're very, very weak this year. We've got injuries. We're not playing well. In fact, we're getting beat a lot. We may set a school record for least wins or something like that this year.
Yeah, that kind of happens because Jeff Petak went down early in the year, and so did Matt Shibashevsky. So those are 2 of like our really big starters, and then as Angel went down the past couple of weeks, it's just kind of one after another, and a lot of people should be playing that aren't, so you got to put people in there to play.
What have you found is a big difference in terms of college volleyball to club, not only at game time, but also the preparation time, the practices and so forth? What have you found that maybe you weren't expecting or you were surprised by when you got here?
Well, college volleyball takes a lot more time than high school volleyball did. We have practice every day, and then in season we have games on the weekends. So you're playing volleyball all the time, and I mean, which is good because everybody gets a lot better. Like, I've gotten a lot better. I know everybody else has gotten a lot better since they came here that are freshmen. I know ball handling has gone up since I've been here at IPFW since last year, because I wasn't very good at ball handling or peppering or passing or anything like that. I just basically hit and blocked all in high school, just playing middle. So a lot of things are different here.
Do they not teach or spend much time training ball handling at the high school level?
They do, but it's primarily for like the kids that are playing outside and
the passers.
And the passers, yeah, and the setters usually do it a lot. Like we rarely passed. I rarely passed in high school because there was no need to practice me because I would never pass in a game. So I think I had kind of a disadvantage coming here without passing because that's what I was being recruited for, as a outside passer or right side. So I think that's like the main difference between here and high school.
You talked a little bit about the playing every weekend, the travel and so forth. How do you guys, as student athletes, you have classes, you have tests and so forth, how do you accommodate the kinds of travel that you have to go through as an athlete?
It's a lot of teacher-student kind of, you have to talk to your teachers, see what they say. Sometimes you have to skip a test or you have to skip class a lot. I've had to skip class quite a few times just for volleyball, and some teachers are okay with it, some teachers aren't, so you just kind of have to do what you can.
You take a form to them or something, or you give them a card every time you're going to be on the road and have to miss class because of travel, right?
Yeah.
So they know in advance that you will be away on university duty.
Mm-hmm. It's like a legitimate excuse type thing. It's just so it's not like you're just sitting at home or anything like that. So they know where you are and kind of what you're doing, so they don't get kind of upset about it and just say, whatever. So
I notice as I walk through the bus, frequently I'll see a lot of the players will have books out or they'll be working on something.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of studying gets done on the bus, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's actually like a really big plus because there's really nothing else to do on the bus. And I've actually gotten a lot of studying done, and probably more than like I would if I wasn't traveling. So it's kind of a plus to actually sit on the bus and do your homework or whatever, because you actually can spend a lot of time with it, and there's nothing else to do, like I said. So you may as well.
So you get more studying done the weeks we play on the road than the weeks we play at home, right?
Actually, yeah, I do. Because there's really nothing else to do on the bus. Like, we watch movies and you kind of do what you can to make the time pass, but really you just read a book and do your homework and you get it done. And I'm not saying I don't get it done on the weekends when we're here, but I actually do a lot more stuff, and I'll do stuff that's like not due yet for like the next week. I'll get that done. So I'll get a lot of stuff done on the bus while we travel.
So I imagine trips like Quincy, it takes 7 hours one way. You can probably write a master's dissertation in the time we're on the bus, right?
Yeah, I remember that trip. I studied for a test and I got an A on it, so I was pretty happy about that whole weekend.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, my mom is a certified accountant. She's a CPA. She works in a law firm, or accounting firm, actually. She's kind of like a financial advisor, counselor type lady. I don't really know what she does because I don't know. That's just what she tells me. And my dad is a real estate investor. He owns like real estate properties, and then he rents them out to whoever and kind of does that whole thing. So basically, that's what my parents do. My brother.
But you're not real clear on this, are you?
No, I don't really. They don't really let me know what they're doing, so. So I don't know.
They didn't move while you were down here and not tell you, did they?
Actually, I haven't seen my parents in a long time, so we'll see what happens when I go back.
You said you had a sister or brother?
I have a little brother. He's still in 8th grade right now, so he's a little bit younger. But he's just getting into volleyball too, so we'll see where he goes with it.
And real fast, before we go out, your major?
I'm a business major.
Business major. You'll follow your mom in accounting?
No, business management.
Business management.
Yeah.
That was Jason Morgan, who may or may not have parents somewhere up in Minnesota. We're going to work on that and give you a full report by next week. So when we come back, Arnie will join me, and we'll talk a little bit about our MIVA tournament match at Ohio State on Saturday night. So please stay with us.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. Precious places. Timeless places. Places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
All over America, people are taking the National Radon Test. Have you?
You put me on the spot.
True or false? Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer.
True. I'd say false.
No, it's true.
That's something new to me.
The Office of the Surgeon General recommends all homes be tested for radon.
False.
It's true.
True.
So that's bad. We should get our house tested.
Yeah, I'm gonna call that.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
How can you not call?
1-800-SOS-RADON.
Welcome back to the Arnie Ball Show. This final segment is sponsored by Marathon National Oil and Farm Bureau Insurance. Well, Arnie, talking to Jason, the issue with his parents, I guess we'll have to work out at some other time about what they do and why he doesn't seem to know. But you say he's a good student.
That's me to think you had Jason Stein on the program.
Jason Stang, yeah.
Or Stang, yeah. See, I've forgotten his name already. Thinking of Jim Stein, but Jason
Stein,
Stang.
yeah.
I didn't think you had him on the
Why
program.
don't we get Jim Stein on the program?
Yeah, we ought to do that. That'd be good.
We ought to do that.
That'd be good.
He used to be in marketing. He can fill 10 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good call by you again.
We'll get him on.
You're getting really good at that.
But not this year, next year, because we only have these shows as long as we keep winning.
Oops.
Oops.
Oops. We may be in big trouble here for very long. But you know, in regards to Jason, you got to remember he's a Minnesotan.
Yeah, I know. I forgot he was a Minnesotan.
Kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. They are an unusual breed up there, aren't they?
Well, we've had our share of Minnesotans. That is not necessarily unusual or usual breeds, but I mean,
both.
After all, we had Tim Heffron.
Tim Heffron is still here. We can't get rid of him.
He doesn't want to go back to Minnesota.
I know. He did once and then still came back here. We were talking to Jason about the way on the bus, you can spend time studying. In fact, how he does better in school the next week if we're on the road because he's got that bus time to study.
Well, you know, you and I have talked about this a little bit before on the show, especially back when we had hosted the NCAA tournaments in 2094 and 88, but of course 88 we didn't participate. But when you're on the road, it's just you and the team. And, you know, you have time to study, especially now that we take the buses, that's even more so. You have time to do things with the team because you don't have mom and dad, you don't have, you know, media, you don't have a lot of distractions. It's a lot easier for, I think, us to prepare our team on the road and actually the team to be in a better frame of mind on the road than it is here at home. And then, of course, the added thing to that is what Jason talked about with the bus. I mean, the kids can study, and the kids are really good about that. We had the highest GPA we've ever had last semester, and I make the kids predict about 3 weeks out, you know, what they're going to get in regards to GPA for this coming semester, and we may be higher than that this semester unless something drastically happens.
We used to have a theory, in fact, I think we tried to track it one season about playing home versus on the road, whether the girlfriend was in the stands or not. What year was that?
Maybe that's before my time. Oh no, I
was part of your time.
I was part of that. Well, there really are. It's just there are so many distractions at home as compared to being on the road. It does make a difference. And you know, if you look at some of the big-time football programs, for instance, they'll take their, or basketball teams programs, they'll take their team away from their own community. Obviously not a long way away, but because there's some rules against that. But just to get the kids in a situation where you don't have all these outside forces affecting your preparation.
I think a lot of
there's a
football
lot of truth
teams
to that.
take their kids to a hotel in an adjacent city on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to that than I really ever thought there would have been, especially once we started hosting those big tournaments.
So that's been the strategy this year. We're going to play to get ourselves in the lower half of the conference, so we have to go on the road for the tournament, which we'll be doing on Saturday at Ohio State, and therefore you're predicting a win?
We've made one of our goals.
We've made one of the goals.
I'm not predicting this. You're not putting me there, but we've got one of our goals, finish in the lower half. I'm tired of that, however.
That's 2 years in a row.
I'm tired of that.
We are real tired of that. We're getting old too. We don't have many years left.
Well, you're a lot younger than I am. I don't have many years left. You have a lot of them left.
Tell you what, I would like the thrill of playing in the semifinals, going down to the final gun like we did with Long Beach in '99, like we did Stanford in '92, but winning it this time. We've been one serve away from playing for it all.
Well, that's the goal, and hopefully if things work out like we anticipate they will, and when anybody busted up and hurt again, like we did this year, we may have a chance to do that next couple of years.
Well, I think what you need to do next year is cancel fall practice, because you lost 2 starters in fall.
Actually, one of them was before practice even started. Maddie was before we even started practice. Jeff happened during when practice started. That isn't going to happen. You know that ain't going to happen. As a matter of fact, we're going to keep practicing right up until the NCAA tournament if we don't qualify.
This year?
This year. We need to get better, and we just got, the longer we can have them, the better we're going to get. So.
Well, you've got all these freshmen who've come back as sophomores. You got Jeffy and Maddie coming back from their injuries. You've got new kids coming in. So it's probably the right attitude to take. This season obviously didn't work out very well, so next year, set our sights higher.
You know, I mean, it's when the injury thing happens like it's happened to us, you've got to take that and know that it's certainly going to be more difficult than you would hoped it was going to be, and the younger kids have to grow. And they've done that. We talked about that with the Mitches and the Dennises and the Jason who's now got to play. So hopefully we're making some progress.
Okay, for head coach Arnie Ball, our guest Jason Morgan, our sponsors, Freedom Financial, Fujifilm, Farm Bureau Insurance, Marathon Gasoline Oil, Anheuser-Busch, and Dairy Queen. From John and the whole crew here at Channel 56, this is Mark Franke. So long, thanks for watching, and please join us again next week here on Channel 56.